we have anyone to present that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Let me give you your remote back. You're gonna let me work it, huh?
Yes. It's on.
Okay, is it the,
Hold on, let me just put it up for you.
all right. It actually works, good. I said, good evening, my name is Marlene Beach. I'm the principal at UHY. This is Mark Bushnell, and Mark was the manager in charge of the audit. As opposed to going through the financial statements, as we normally do, we set up a PowerPoint presentation to kind of hit some of the high points. Accounting standards require that we provide you guys with certain administrative matters regarding our work. As I said, we prepared this summary of it. The financial statements are the property of the city. The only thing that is ours is the report. Our report does say we audited the financial statements of the city, the governmental activities, the business activities, and the component unit, each major fund, and the remaining fund information of the city as of and for the year, June 30th, 2024. Also includes the related notes to the financial statements. As you'll notice that the notes get longer and longer every year. The financial statements, the actual statements themselves, take up probably about a third. The rest is your financial statement notes. As detailed in our auditor's opinion, we did issue an unmodified opinion. An unmodified opinion is the highest opinion we can give. Accounting standards require that we provide you with certain information. We did provide an engagement letter at the start of the audit. Management's responsible for the selection of the accounting policies, and those are detailed in Note 1 to the financial statements. There was a new GASB this year, accounting changes and error corrections. The city did adopt that as of July 1st, 2023. The city does make certain estimates. As part of our audit procedures, we evaluate the reasonableness of these estimates. And the most extensive estimate in the city's financial statements was the pension and OPEB liability, the depreciable lives of the property and equipment also. We did have a few journal entries that was provided to management as part of the audit. They were made, so the financial statements were done and complete at the end of the audit. We're not aware that the financial statements are being concluded with any other documents aside from the single audit report, which does get submitted to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. We're pleased to report there were no disagreements with city management. I'm hearing everybody, they were great. They had things ready for us. One of the things we look at during our audit is the speed which we get information back. And everything came back extremely timely, which means everything was, they were ready for us, they were prepared, they had the documentations that we asked for. There were no issues discussed with management prior to our appointment. Now I'm going to go through a few graphs. As I said, this is just kind of a highlight of the financial statements. The key fund of the city, as you're well aware, is the general fund. And if you look at 23 to 24, the sizes of the pies are almost identical. The cash and equivalent was 69% last year, and it's 70%. Receivables at about 3.4 mil were 27%. Last year, they were 28%, so almost identical numbers. Receivables are just a function of time. If we'd have done the audit 4 days later, the receivable balance could have been different. So it's just a matter of when things come in. A lot of that had to do with grants and amounts that were due from the state of Michigan. So the assets are what you own, the liabilities are what you owe, and the fund balance is the remaining. Payables and other accruals, once again, it's kind of like receivables. It's a function of when the audit takes place. Last year, they were 20%. This year, they're 21. Again, we're looking at very consistent numbers year over year. One thing you want to look at is your fund balance, unrestricted. That means the funds that are available for the city to use for general purposes. Last year, they were 70%. This year, last year they were 71%. 2024, they're 70%. Again, very comparable numbers. Fund balance was 9 million. Fund balance this year was about 8.7, and that's just a function of expenses in excess of revenues this year. This slide shows the general fund revenue. The big difference you're going to see in this one is on the 2024 as you look at grant revenue of a little over $16 million. This was the money that you received from the state of Michigan for the pension grant. So that did skew, the sizes of the pies from year over year. So if we look at the next slide, this is the general fund revenues. We just took out that 16 million just for comparability sakes. Property taxes last year were 7.6 million. Property tax revenue was up considerably this year to 8.4. State share revenue was also up. And you'll notice income tax had a substantial increase. Property tax was 32% last year, and it's about 35% this year. Income tax were 15%. Income tax this year was 19%. Because the revenue was, we had that grant revenue, we also had the associated expense. So that's why you see the change in public safety. We had $13 million last year, 31 this year. But once again, we did a slide. We took out that grant revenue for the grant expenditures. Public safety was 13.5 last year and about 14.7 this year. 66%, but it's down to 59. General government was about 5.2 last year and approximately 7.9 this year. Another fund we'd like to highlight is water and sewer fund because it's one of the largest funds in the city. Sale of water last year was just a little bit over 4 million. This year you're looking at about 4.6. Sewage disposal charges last year were 4.9, and this year they're up to 5.7. So you've got a great increase in revenue in the water and sewer funds. There was substantial grant revenue this year. It was 2 million last year, and this year again it's 4.4. So anytime you have an increase in grant revenue, we expect to see an increase in grant expense where you're spending it. Cost of the sewer treatment last year was about $4 million. This year it's just a little over 4.3. Operations and maintenance, this is where the grant funds would flow through. So you had 2.7. This year they're about $7 million. But once again, you had grant revenue, so you're going to see those related expenses that go with it. This year, the city was also subject to a single audit. A single audit is conducted anytime your federal expenditures, which is expenditures of federal revenues, exceed $750,000. We had one major program that we tested. That was the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. Next year, the limit is going up to $1 million, but the city does have Eagle grants for next year, so there will be, more than likely, will be a single audit again next year. One of the things that you do as part of a single audit is you look at the internal controls of the city. This was done for a basis for designing our audits, but it was not for the purpose of expressing opinion. So accordingly, we do not express an opinion on the effectiveness of the city's internal control. There's two types of findings. One's a material weakness, one's a significant deficiency. These are just the definitions of both. There was one financial statement audit finding this year that was related to segregation of duties related to banking. That issue was resolved before the audit was complete. So there's access to the banks that one person could do more than just one portion of the banking, so the person could input and also approve. That has since been remediated, and now you have great segregation of duties in your banking, which means one person cannot both cannot input and approve banking. So it requires two people to do ACHs, two people to do wire transfers. As I mentioned, that was corrected prior to the end of our audit. And that is the basis for our presentation. Does anybody have questions on anything that I can answer?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, I just one question.
Tom?
If I want to report for this, for our system like for 5 years, can we make a report?
Pardon me?
If I make a report, I want a report for like from 2019 till now.
I'm sorry.
He want to see the report
Report
for 5 years.
For
for 5 years.
you mean in the report itself that we prepare?
This is a year, and it's for 5 years. How they going?
No, and
Because
actually,
the billing in Hamtramck is high. Can we make a report?
the report itself, no, GASB does not allow that. GASB,
Not allowed to make a
GAS
report?
we're not allowed to make a 5-year report.
Separate?
The separate years,
From
each,
2019 till now.
yeah, each of those reports is available on the city
Yeah.
Councilman,
website.
you can look at every year
Our
past. I mean,
finance
everything's
director
on
can
board
give it
docs.
to you.
Yeah, I need to see that.
Yeah, those are available on the city website. They're also available, they're available on the state of Michigan
The
website also.
finance director can give it to
Yeah,
you.
it's on board docs, Councilman. You can go back and look all the way.
I need to make it in my hand.
So he want to print
Just
out,
print
he
it for
can
you.
give
We
it to
just
you.
print it for you.
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
One question. Do you have any concern or any major finding this audit?
We did not. The one finding we did have was segregation duties, and that has been corrected. So there were, other than that, we had no recommendations and no findings, so.
So I see the maintenance, operation maintenance, the little big difference from last year, 23 to 24. You say grant money will cover most of them. So any other slide I didn't see, but you say you take off the,
Yeah, anytime, there was a lot of grant money this year, so anytime we see grant revenue, we also expect to see the grant, expenditures go up because you're spending your grant funds. So that is
That was expected on
that was
this slide.
that was an
Okay.
expected thing, correct.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes,